As most baseball fans and experts know, if you want to go far in the postseason and potentially make the World Series, you need elite pitching, and you need a lot of it. Every team you saw in the playoffs last year had an elite duo, an elite combination of a 1-2 pitching duo. The Phillies with Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler, Dodgers with Julio Urias and Clayton Kershaw, the Braves with Max Fried and Spencer Strider. Then you go over to the Astros, Framber Valdez and Christian Javier. And because of this duo right here, the Astros won the World Series last year. Framber Valdez was masterful in his 2 games that he pitched in the World Series, 2-0 with the sub-2 ERA. And Christian Javier, he pitched that pivotal Game 4 when he no-hit the Phillies in Philadelphia and tied that series up at 2 apiece. Now in the offseason, the Astros ace on paper, Justin Verlander, departed and went over to the Mets. And so that leaves the Astros with Framber Valdez and Christian Javier as now their 1-2 combo. And it is one of the strangest combos I think I've seen on paper in a while in the league. And what I mean by it's one of the strangest combos in the league, Javier and Valdez are ranked as one of the top 3 duos in the American League and one of the top 7 in the entire Major League. You look at Christian Javier and Framber Valdez's stuff and you think, that is kind of odd. For example, let's look at the Braves duo, Max Fried and Spencer Strider. Spencer Strider's out here throwing 100 miles an hour on his fastball velo. Dude's a fire-breathing dragon. Then you look over at Max Fried. The man's off-speed stuff is absolutely filthy. Sure, his fastball velocity is at league average around 95 miles an hour, but it's the off-speed stuff that makes him so special. For another example, you look at the Phillies, Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler. Zach Wheeler is a high velo guy averaging around 96 miles an hour on his fastball, relying on that to get guys out. And then you have Aaron Nola. Off-speed stuff is so sick. Aaron Nola relies on his off-speed stuff to get guys out. You have another 1-2 combo, just like the Braves, where one guy relies on his velocity to generate outs, and one guy relies on his off-speed pitches to generate outs. Let's go ahead and cut it back to Christian Javier and Framber Valdez for a second and look at them. Neither Christian Javier or Framber Valdez generate high velo more than league average on their fastballs. Christian Javier is only throwing 93.8 miles an hour on his fastball. As to Framber Valdez, who's also only throwing 93.9 miles an hour on his sinker and 94.1 miles an hour on his four seam. But here's the caveat about both of these guys. They both have one pitch that is so elite and so unhittable that it's almost mind-boggling that they can throw it. Example, Framber Valdez and that curveball. Many hitters, including Mike Trout, describe that curveball of Framber Valdez as almost unhittable and the best in the league. Framber has elite spin rate on his curveball, which generates a lot of ground outs. It's not just that curveball that frustrates lineups so much. It's the double play ability and ground ball ability that thing generates. We saw a lot of examples last year, specifically Game 6 of the World Series. Framber Valdez lets some guy get on first, and then wipes that base runner out with a ground ball double play. But don't let that curveball fool you. Framber can dial up that sinker up to 97 miles an hour. On top of his ability to just generate a ground ball at any moment he wants, guy doesn't give up many home runs a year. He only gave up 11 total last season. Now you bump over to Christian Javier. What a case study Christian really is. What a find by the Astros. Now, if you were to talk to any baseball expert, ex-player, or scout about Christian Javier and his fastball, first thing they're going to mention to you is it's an invisiball. They don't call it an invisiball because it has such high velocity on it that it gets past hitters before they can even see it. It's because the type of ride that it has on it is such a low velocity. Generally, whenever you have guys that have fastballs with such good ride on them, it's because they're throwing so hard and they're generating a lot of velocity behind it, as well as spin rate. But what makes Javier so special and so effective with that fastball is that not only whenever he puts his spin on it, when it rides up in the zone on hitters, the 3/4 arm angle that he's coming out of throwing that pitch. Thinking this guy's going to have a fastball that goes downhill, but all of a sudden when it gets 3/4 of the plate, it goes back up like on a rope. It essentially looks like to a hitter that it's defying gravity coming back up on them. But it starts to rise so late at the plate, hitters barely have any time to adjust to it. And then he mixes in an elite slider with it. It's very, very hard to hit the guy. It's the reason that he had the lowest batting average against in the league last season. Now coming into 2023, the Astros are going to be relying on these two guys especially to lead that rotation back into the postseason and dominate. And to me, they're one of the strangest ace duos I've seen in quite some time. Because no guy is throwing hard high velo. One guy doesn't give up a lot of home runs and relies on his off-speed pitch to generate groundouts. And the other guy, in Javier, relies on his deception and the ability for him to put so much backspin on a fastball with lower than league average velo on his fastball. And essentially, it becomes an invisiball. The difference between this duo and many others in the league is the fact that they don't have elite velocity between the two of them. they each have and utilize an elite pitch that they are so effective with. And to me, that's what makes it so weird and strange that this duo might become one of the best, if not the best duo in baseball. But guys, let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think about the situation? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Let me know in the comment section down below. And as always, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you are new, because I have plenty more baseball content like this. And I'll see you all in the next one. Adios, mis amigos.